All right, so today we're going to talk about what you're legally required to disclose when selling your home right here in Hawaii.
So I got some homework for you. You're going to write down, this is called the Hawaii Revised Statute 508D as in Delta. If you're having a hard time getting to sleep at night, you're an insomniac and you want to read something that's going to knock you out because it's so dang boring, go look up that Hawaii Revised Statute that has to do with disclosing what we call material facts when you are selling a home. And the bottom line is that you want to do three things when it comes to disclosing things about your home. Disclose,
and disclose.
And disclose. Oh wait, that was four.
And I would just say you want to be honest to a fault.
Yeah. So in this video, we're going to walk you through the key disclosures that sellers need to know in 2026 and why being upfront will save your bacon when it comes to future litigation.
And it'll make it very smooth, the transaction.
And when you close this real estate transaction, you'll sleep better at night, like a little baby. All right.
Okay, so let's go into a real life story that Attilio and I...
Why you want to disclose? Here's some examples. I would say, you know what, now that I think about it, we've been doing this over 20 years, done over 1,800 transactions.
Over $1 billion in sales.
Over $1 billion in sales. And like Dr. Everbillion, with the pinky on next to it, over 1 billion. He says $1 million though, because that was a movie in the 70s. But the thing about disclosure, what I've noticed about of the lawsuits that we've been involved with, and hey, we're not bad people, but you do enough of anything for a long period of time, the probability of being involved in a lawsuit is going to happen. As we say, it's not a matter of if, but when. And it's all about being prepared and documenting your communication and everything like that. So I would say that every single one of the lawsuits that we've been involved with, and we've won every single one of them, has to do with disclosure.
Yes, and I would say not just with the ones that we've been involved with, but just in general, the disclosure has been the number one thing that will get you in trouble right here in your real estate transactions.
All right. So one of them was that the homeowner did not disclose that they were in the middle of a lawsuit with the association. And then that lawsuit carried on to the next owner because it had to do with
their property.
Regarding the property. And then how we found out that he did not fully disclose this on the disclosure is we got a love note from an off-duty sheriff. It's called a subpoena. And we got involved into a lawsuit on that.
And meanwhile, our seller has taken off to Panama.
They went to Panama.
Yeah, lovely.
And, anyway, and they were intentional with this because it wasn't going to be worth it to extradite them to bring them to task on the situation. So what you need to know, though, is that when you're for sale by owner, you don't have what's called errors and omissions insurance. I guess if you did, I don't know if you can even get it because it's for the industry. And what that means is that even if we do everything right and somebody sues us, we have legal representation covered by errors and omissions insurance, allows us to go and represent our brokerage in the matter of the lawsuit. So a lot of times they're coming after the deep pockets, which is us. And so that's a benefit. Even if you disclose, having representation by a brokerage. And if you want to minimize those lawsuits, you want to have an experienced team like us helping you with the sale process. All right.
Now that was that happened about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one that was more recent and has just closed. That was a disclosure issue, but wasn't really a disclosure issue because our seller did completely fill out the seller's disclosure. We had recaps with emails documenting everything about this particular situation.
Yeah.
But anybody can sue anyone for any reason. And after going through all of the evidence and, going through the seller's disclosure, all the instructions, this had to do with the short-term rental and like an Airbnb certificate. They didn't follow the instructions on their part and lost their certificate and were coming after us for them losing that certificate. And at the end of the day, we proved that everything was disclosed and the proper procedure was provided. However, things you need to know about disclosure and lawsuits is that it still costs money to be right. That's right.
It still costs money to be right. And so there's deductibles and all of that, and we took care of all of that. But it was a couple $1,000s in legal fees to be right. So that's the.
So even when you do everything right, you can still get involved in litigation. But always important to be honest to a fault with everything that you know about the property. And that leads us into key point number 1, material defects.
Yeah, so let me circle back.
What is a material
Hawaii,
defect?
Let me circle
Yes.
back to the Hawaii Revised Statute 508D. And it is a law in the books here in Hawaii that says a seller must disclose what's called material facts. And a material fact in a simple definition is anything that affects the value of a property past, present, or future.
Mm-hmm.
A past would be like, hey, the water heater exploded and shot through the roof of my home and landed in my neighbor's yard. Well, we paid for all of that, we fixed it, and now we've enclosed our water heater in a bunker so that can never happen again. Anything present would be that
I would say something that maybe comes up in the home inspection,
Yeah.
and maybe you didn't even know about it, but then it came to your attention because the buyer brought it to your attention.
Yeah.
Now you need to update your disclosure
Yeah.
to show that you know about this, this material.
And then
defects.
a future one would be not that you are like omniscient and you have a crystal ball or anything, not that kind of future. But for example, if you live in a condo high rise, there may be notices saying, hey, there's going to be a future assessment for $10,000 per owner paid over a 4-year period. And this is going to be for replacing all the railings around the outside of all the condo patios and lanais. And so that is something that's not in place yet, but it is in the future and will affect the value of that property. You must disclose it. We've had people be in hot water on that, and it was proven that they knew beforehand and ended up having to circle back and go pay for that because they didn't disclose it.
That's right.
All right.
So next up is you want to disclose any kind of history of repairs or renovations.
Yeah.
Now this is a point where you can kind of brag a little bit on the property and all these nice things that you've done. Maybe you did a kitchen remodel, a bathroom remodel, you replaced the roof. These are all important things for the buyer to know about the home.
Now, this is important to know for you people out there seeing this video, hearing this message for the first time, and you're thinking about doing some remodels of your home. If you're going to hire your cousin Bobo, who's not licensed, who does his whole life revolves around being paid cash under the table on the weekends, and you're like, what does he do Monday through Friday? Anyway, if you hire Bobo and he's unlicensed, that is going to be something that is going to come up in these when you're going to sell the home and filling out what's called the seller's disclosure, because there are specific questions in there. Was any remodeling work done with licensed professionals?
And asks about the permits.
Yeah, and ask about permits. So
any unpermitted work.
Yeah,
and you need to disclose if it was permitted or not.
Yeah, so be transparent and show buyers. A lot of times with our sellers, what we like to do is gather as much information as we can. And even if they have quotes for, like, we had one seller where there was a lot of dry rot around all the window frames, and they had gotten a quote to have those completely replaced and renovated. So we included the quote for that.
With the seller's disclosure.
Yeah, with the seller's disclosure. And what we do in all of our listings, which most agents don't do, is we gather all of this documents and provide them to any of the agents that potentially want to show the home. And the reason being that we're being honest to a fault up front, it kind of bulletproofs, as I say, the escrow. Because a lot of times people will be like, I want to catfish these people. It's like it's like a nut, like somebody who's got an interesting face. I'll just be PC about it. But then they put up Julia Roberts' face as their face. And then when they show up, they're like, hey, you're not Julia Roberts. So you want to put all of that stuff up front so that if they do come visit the home, they have all this information, they write an offer, there's nothing new or surprises to provide them.
The only thing new that might come up is something that you might not be aware of that comes up in the home inspection.
Yeah.
So maybe some of those negotiations are done early on, but based on what's in that seller's disclosure.
So even if you're not thinking about selling a home, the takeaway on history of repairs and renovations,
keep track of them.
All of that paperwork, keep it in a file somewhere, scan it, upload it to your Google Drive.
Be organized.
Home renovations, throw away all the paperwork, but at least have the documented things showing contractor license numbers, quotes, what the payments were, and how much things cost, because it'll help you in the sale of your home. Next up,
Environmental hazards.
Environmental hazards.
Yes.
By the way, I just want to let you know that teenagers with rotten attitudes are not considered an environmental hazard.
What about noisy neighbors that work on their cars and take all their the parking?
You know,
Is that would be an environmental hazard?
Yeah, it could be to your mental well-being, just like teenagers. But what I would focus on and there are questions in there. So, you know, if you are selling a home on 3 Mile Island, where they had the nuclear, you know, fallout and all of that, you probably want to disclose that. But environmental hazard questions are going to be things like
lead-based paint.
Lead-based paint. If your home was built prior to like this, you know, I don't know.
I think it was 76, I think, or 78.
76, but anything before the 70s most likely had lead-based paint.
We have a special form for that outside of the disclosure.
Yeah, that is required by the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and it has to be dated that it's been sent to you.
And if you do it wrong, you get a big fine.
Yeah. So we're not saying you're going to go in there and do lead paint remediation of your home. It's more of just the disclosure of it. So when you do go into escrow, things like a lot of the popcorn ceiling that we see in some of the older condos could have asbestos in it. Mm-hmm. They used back in the day, they used asbestos for everything. They probably put it in baby diapers. I don't know. It was in everything because they didn't know that it, as we know today, that it causes cancer. But now that's a specific issue. Things like mold,
especially in our climate in Hawaii, where it's very, you know, humid. And people can be very sensitive to mold. So you definitely want, if you think there might be mold, you want to disclose it. Yeah,
and the thing with mold is can be good mold and bad mold. There's mold that creates penicillin that saves millions of lives every year.
And there's mold that creates cheese.
And there's mold that creates cheese. And so you don't want to be a cheesy seller not talking about your mold. You do want to disclose it. And then there's like mold, like Legionnaire's disease, that will kill everybody, you know, inside the home. And so...
Wait, and then there's one more. I don't know that's an environmental hazard, but there is a question on the disclosure about aircraft noise, because obviously we're here on an island. We have a lot of military bases, and sometimes you have very loud jets that fly over your home. So that is another question that you want to be, again, honest about.
Be honest about it, because here's what we do know. When Adrian and I both live in the flight path for the airplane, so we know when tourism is up and when it's down by the sound of the jets overhead.
It was so quiet during COVID.
So, and here's what we do know. As a homeowner living in that environment with that type of noise, you kind of get used to it and forget about it. So it's very important that it's not a subjective question based on your opinion, whether it's annoying or not. Because like Adrian's teenagers, they're super annoying to me, but to her, they're okay. Yeah, but that's completely subjective. And I'd be okay with that. So long as it was disclosed to me, and she did disclose to me that they're annoying. And so I just, you know, I'm gonna let it go.
And maybe sometimes they're annoyed by you.
Yeah, they're annoyed. I you know, they need to disclose I'm annoying too. But with aircraft noise, again, it's not a subjective thing. You either have it or you don't. And you got to pay attention to it, because you don't, maybe somebody's super sensitive to that, or, you know, and they find out after the fact, you're going to be in deep kimchi on that and big trouble. So again, disclose. The thing we want to put out of your mind as a seller, I want to show this property in the best light possible. So I'm going to do this and I'll do that. Now, as a good realtors are, as we are bound by a code of ethics. And we have to always be acting in a fiduciary manner, even for the public in general that will be purchasing your home, because we don't want you, like, even if you tell us point blank, I do not want you disclosing that we have enough mold in the guest bedroom that cheese pops up in the corner. Even if you told us point blank, we can't disclose that. We are bound and obligated.
Because we know, and we know it's a material fact, and it just needs to be disclosed. And we have had sellers that have asked, please don't share that with the buyers. And you know, we have a fiduciary duty, you know, obviously to the clients, but then there's the ethical side of things. And that is like, that's, you know, pushing on our ethics. So that does, if we know that there's a material fact, it does need to be disclosed.
This is one of like 80 different things that you need to be aware of when it comes to selling a home. And if you want to make the process as smooth as possible, protect yourself and or build trust with your buyer, the first step is just giving us a call so that we can take you through this process, talk about the disclosures. In fact, Adrian, what is the document that we hand to everybody in our first consultation?
That would be the seller's disclosure.
Yeah.
And we write a little thing on there about doing some homework, and we do it together. It's not too scary. I know there's a lot of questions on there, but we do it together. Our team also has a nice fillable form in case you have terrible handwriting, just to make it super easy. And, we're there every step of the way to help you through it. The questions all do need to be answered by you as a seller, but, we're here to guide and help you understand the questions if you don't understand them.
Yeah, so we'll be guiding you every step of the way. Reach out today to schedule a free, and here's the deal. It's not put you in a headlock and do a hard sale close on you. It's a strategy call. We consider ourselves consultants, so we take a consultative approach to maximizing your sale price, reducing future risk of litigation, and more importantly, the combination of both of those, reduce your stress.
And it increases your return on investment.
Yeah.
Increases your net from the property.
Yeah, and not only do you want to maximize the sale price, but you do want to manage the risk in it. Real estate is a highly litigious industry, and we want to protect you from that. And so the best way that we can think that any honest advice we can give you, check out our reviews. Don't take our word for it on the level of service that we're providing to our clients. We've got over 800 plus reviews on Google, and they're not all from my mom. They're actually from real clients that have done business with us. And I think that is the best testimonial for the level of service we provide. But again, give us a call so we can go through a strategy session with you and maximize your sale price and reduce your risk.